Greetings, my BPPN family. Welcome to Bold Perspectives Network. I'm Mr. Red. Now, you may have heard that Stephen A. Smith went on to Cam Newton's podcast, and he said that he believes that all black people should vote Republican because the Democrats have taken advantage of the black vote.
For one election, that every black person would vote Republican. Since 1964, the black folks, we have been giving our vote to the Democratic Party at an exorbitant rate. Therefore, they know they got our vote, and they don't have to cater to us as much as we need them to. The Republicans know they'll never get our vote, so they don't give a damn about us. And as a result, we're the only community in America devoid of representation, which is why we're considered disenfranchised.
I wish your hairline would come back. I wish you would stop tap dancing for the Republican Party. I wish you would play in heavy fucking traffic. 75 South in the mid of Atlanta at 1 p.m. Because that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Because as soon as the Civil Rights Act was implemented and black people started getting more power, white people shifted to the Republican Party. And the reason they shifted because the Republicans promised that they would keep white people in power and on top. So what the fuck do you think is going to happen if we just started voting for a Republican?
People think of the 60s and the 80s as so different. 65 and 80 is 15 years. He gets there in 16 years later and says, we don't need that shit anymore. As a young 26-year-old man, he already thought it was over. And his life's work has been to repeal not just the Voting Rights Act, but the 20th century. We have a Supreme Court that looks at the American century, the greatest century in this country's history, the 20th century, in which we saw labor rights, child labor laws abolished, women acquire the right to vote, women acquire the right to contraception and abortion to determine our own fates. And the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, 100 years later, finally given the force of law through the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. Miracles in the 20th century. This court views that century as an abomination, and they've been setting out to repeal the 20th century ever since they've gotten a majority.
Now, all of this is just my humble opinion, which I'm about to speak. But if Republicans were so good for black people, then why are they going out of their way to repeal things that have been in place since before I was even born, more than 50 years ago? Why are they going through such trouble if they're not racist to put out policies that seemingly discriminate and denigrate and alienate black people from the rest of society? Why is it if we're not supposed to be talking about race that everything with this administration is about race? Does Stephen A. think that when they say DEI, they're not talking about black people and brown people? Why is it that even though we have to work so hard just to get an inch in this society, more schooling, more proving who we are, that this administration wants to tell you that there's no way you got there on your own merit? You can say whatever you want about the Democrats, but the policies that they were passing, not all perfect. Don't get me wrong. Some of those policies have hurt our community. But for the most part, those policies helped a young man like me to be a successful grown-ass man. Those policies gave me the opportunity to get the education, to get the skills that I have learned over the years. And now they want to take all of that back. They're now, finding ways to try to revoke your ability to be able to vote. They're trying to make it harder for you to have representation. Tennessee is already redistricting and erasing majority black districts. This is the first thing they decided to do. They're not even the only state. As soon as that decision came down from the Supreme Court, southern states went and started redistricting out black people from having any type of representation. It wasn't the whole, American war, the American freedom 250 years ago about taxation from the King of England, but they had no representation, no power? Wasn't that what this whole American experiment was about? The whole reason they went to fight for all this stuff? Wasn't that the reason? And now they don't even believe in, fair taxation representation for majority black areas, for them to be able to elect their own people. Some of the problems that we experience as black people when it comes to voting has to do with the fact that we do not pay attention to our local representation. We don't do our homework on the local people. That needs to change going forward, if there's time to do it.
Let me say something that's probably going to piss a few people off, especially if you're one of those loud, flag-waving, small government conservatives who loves to call liberals snowflakes. You see, a whole lot of the freedom you built your life on, you didn't get that from the right. You got it from liberals. Not everything, but a whole hell of a lot. Women's right to vote, that came from radical women, branded as socialists, anarchists, and troublemakers who marched, protested, and got arrested until the 19th Amendment happened. The right didn't push for that. They fought against it. You work 40 hours a week instead of 80. You don't have to send your kid to a coal mine. You enjoy weekends off, sick leave, workman's comp. You can thank labor unions, the New Deal, and progressive legislation, all pushed by liberals and opposed by conservatives at the time. Ladies, you want to open a bank account without your husband's signature? Buy a house? Get birth control? Access health care? Go to college? That wasn't small government that was giving you that freedom. That was from liberal women, liberal lawmakers, and liberal judges refusing to accept things for the way they were. And if you're a veteran cashing your VA check using the GI Bill or on Medicare, you're living under liberal policy. Programs the right have tried to kill. No, you don't have to vote blue. You don't have to agree with everything on the left. I don't agree with everything on the left. But let's not rewrite history. You're not living in conservative victory. You're living in liberal progress.
You can't win a war unless you have allies, especially allies that are on the other side. And so some of those things that happened because we had allies on the other side, and we allied them when they needed it as well. And right now we're in a crisis. We're in a constitutional crisis because of the Republicans who are supposed to be in charge of the Congress and the Senate are supposed to be a check on the powers of the president, a check on the powers of the court. And they've all abdicated their responsibilities. They've all determined that, no, we're going to give all our power to one man. The founding fathers of this country, though they weren't perfect, they definitely didn't intend for that to happen. They were afraid of what's going on right now because they were worried about these, cults and sects being able to do exactly what's happening right now.
And I'm paying for it. I'm paying for it. The country is not. We're donating a $400 million ballroom. Myself and donors are giving them free of charge for nothing. We did this no charge to the taxpayer whatsoever. Rich people and people are putting up the money. Zero taxpayer dollars. I think it'll cost $250 million, and it will be, the finest. It's about $300 million. Approximately $400 million. I think I'll do it for less. But it's 400. I should do it for less. I will do it for less.
We're going to introduce legislation that would authorize $400 million to be spent to secure to build the presidential ballroom. Underneath there will be a lot of military stuff. There will be a Secret Service annex, and we've paid for it by offsetting it with custom fees.
Good morning to you. Senate Republicans are now proposing earmarking $1 billion for security enhancements to President Trump's new East Wing White House ballroom, despite the fact the president had repeatedly promised that, in his words, not a single penny of taxpayer dollars would be used for the massive project.
So there you go. There you go. First it started off with $200 million, then $400 million, and now they're trying to earmark $1 billion. I've recently heard that the projects that Trump has been working on around DC, the fountains and the different things, they've been over budgeting money for something that costs way less. Where is the extra money going to? Who are these companies that are working on it? You want us to vote Republican, Stephen A., but the Republicans have no checks and balances on this president, his spending, his wars, his behavior, his attitudes, his lawlessness. These things have no checks and balances. And this is the party you think has black people's best interest in mind?
A lot of them were let in here. They shouldn't have been let in. Others are just bad. They go bad. Something wrong. There's something wrong there. So the genetics are not exactly, they're not exactly your genetic. Well, it's one of those problems, Brian. It's a terrible thing, and it happens. And it happens too often. So a lot of them were let in here. They shouldn't have been let in.
Now, you just saw that Brian Kilmeade was completely stunned at what Trump was saying. Everyone's talking about, oh, he's trying to keep out the illegals and make America great. But this is bigger than just keeping illegals out, keeping people out who pay taxes and don't benefit from the taxes. They created such a small percentage of the crime. Yet we don't do anything about the real crime in this country and from the real people it's coming from. And that's the people right now who are in the administration. And this is the way they talked about black people. I don't care if they from Africa or not. They still use that language. And I don't want to hear a damn thing about if he was alive today, he would say something different. No, he would be going along with this too. Because the policies that we are seeing today, these things were dreamed up back in that very same time. And that was before I was born. This is how they thought. And those same policies go 8 years later when Ronald Reagan became the president of the United States. His policies were some of the worst policies that ravaged the black community. That was Republicans. That wasn't Democrats. The crack era, right? That crack epidemic, all of that happened under Republicans. Black people went to war in the late 60s, early 70s. When they came home, they couldn't get GI bills. They couldn't get help from the different chemicals they were exposed to. Guess who was the president during that time? It was Nixon. Nixon was the president. And every time we've seen that whenever the Republicans screw up, what happens? Democrats have to come in and fix it. And even when they fix it, people aren't grateful. They forget, short memories. What are you doing for me? All the Republicans have to do is say tax cut, and then people just believe it. Oh, they give you a little money in the first years, but they've been robbing this country for the past 50 years plus. Every time Republicans get in office and they pass these tax cuts, they've been passing all of the American money to these rich corporations. Before Ronald Reagan got into office, the tax rate was really high for rich people, which almost prevented billionaires from ever existing. It was Ronald Reagan who lowered that tax rate, which allowed rich people to see unprecedented riches. That wasn't a Democrat. So what the hell is Stephen A. Smith talking about? Stay vigilant, stay engaged, stay revolutionary.